Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us on another episode of the Sunday Spin. This week and every week, the Sunday Spin is brought to you by our fine sponsors, Grooves Records in San Francisco, California. Shout out to our friend Kevin Chanel out there. And of course, the Ostro Brothers in Colorado Springs at What's Left Records in the 719. We want to give a special shout out to the people from Coast to Coast Entertainment who have been joining us on Sundays. We really appreciate you making us part of your viewing pleasure on the weekends. Without further ado, I want to introduce my man. He's the host of Greno's Grooveyard on KCOS every Monday afternoon, the best show on the internet. Check it out. Greno, how are you, buddy?
Good afternoon, Vinny. I'm feeling great. It's a wonderful Sunday here. The sun is shining. Springtime. Happy May Day, by the way.
Thank you kindly. Needless to say, it's beautiful today. As is my option on Sundays. I like to get a little sun, sit in the backyard, think about what a blessed man I am. On that note, thank you for taking care of me on your Grooveyard last week. That was very special. And thanks to everyone who wished me a happy 42nd birthday. I really appreciate it.
Man, I know. You're looking good for 42. I'll tell you what.
Thanks, pal.
Absolutely.
1, 2, 3, AARP, baby.
It's all that skin cream you got going on, definitely. Well, man, I'm super excited for this show. Got a wonderful musician, songwriter today. This guy's been doing great music here in Colorado for a number of years now, and is a wonderful friend as well, and just a genuinely great human being. Very humble, as you will see, and but we love his music. We love who he is, and let's bring in your friend and mine, Myles the Master.
Man,
what's up, my friend?
What's up, brother? Thank you for that intro. Hopefully I can live up to it, man. Damn, that's
it's true to the heart. You already have lived up to it in spades, my friend. Yeah, we're so glad to have you, Myles.
Hey, I'm glad to be here. Thank you guys for having me, Vinny and Grano. Thank you, man. It's all love. It's all love. Yeah,
it really is our pleasure, Myles, and we wanted to have you on for a long time. Absolutely. Now, Myles has been on one of Greno's talk shows before, if I'm not mistaken. Isn't that right, Greno?
Absolutely.
Roll back the calendar a little bit.
Yeah, well, there's been a couple shows, actually. He was on the Stir the Pot show, an informational show about cannabis. But also, yes, back in the day, I had a radio show, and Myles appeared on it. We played his music, talked about what he does, how he does it. And man, I'm just so glad to have him back on so we can get an update, see where he's at now. I know he's been creating a lot of new music. But before that, Vinny, I know you like this and I like this too. We want to start, Myles, with some of your first musical memories that you had. You know, just as a child, it could be songs, it could be anything. You know, I could see the wheels turning. But yeah, inquiring minds really want to know these types of things, Myles.
Yeah, no, I understand. That's actually a really tough question. First musical memories. Oh man. To be honest with you, as far as I can remember, like my first real are you specifically, is there anything specific you thinking like musical memories that me creating music, or just anything to do with music?
Anything, my friend. Could be driving in the car, in the back of the car. You know, that's what for me, it's hearing those songs on the AM radio in the back of the station wagon.
We always wonder where the inspiration comes from.
Absolutely.
More than anything.
Yeah. Right? Yes, so, exactly.
It's super easy. It's the Wiz, man. The Wiz.
Love it.
Yeah, it's great.
Who played Diana? I'm forgetting. Diana Ross. Diana Ross. Indeed, Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
Movie right there, man. I had every song in that movie memorized by the time I was like 3 years old, man. Like, no joke. That movie,
there you go.
Something that definitely got me into like that kind of jamming, kind of funky songwriting type of mentality. No doubt about it, man.
Yeah, and think about the influences there too, Myles. I mean, Diana Ross and Michael Jackson are not exactly two lightweights in Motown or any other form of music.
No doubt. Not at all. Definitely, I will say one thing that I always used to try and pride myself on was trying to match Michael Jackson's his notes, especially in that. I don't know if you guys remember the song, but the Scarecrow song, the Crow Anthem.
Yeah, I do.
I used to sing that song religiously, my man, and just try notes. And as soon as I got my deeper voice, Michael Jackson's registers no longer something I could even come near.
Right. Things change though, yeah, with the vocals for some of us. Wow, but that's great training though. What a wonderful inspiration to start with, and what I'm hearing too, so much positivity in your music, Myles. That what a great place to start because that's, I mean, the Whiz is just makes you feel good. I mean, it's just it gets you going in life, and I loved it. I mean, I think maybe 10 when that came out.
Yeah.
And the movie too was so much fun.
Did you get to see it?
What's that?
Get to see it in the theater?
Uh, Probably. Thinking at the time, it's like, I couldn't really watch stuff on video and stuff yet. Must have seen it in the theater, yeah. But again, that's what 40 something years ago. But that's so great. What a great touchstone, huh, Vinny? Like,
yeah, and what a great point, Greno. It was about that long ago, and yes, in that time when your TV had 3 stations, you weren't going to see that kind of entertainment, at least not right away. You might see it a few years down the road, in which point you've missed out or 3 or 4 quality years of your life. So yeah, Myles, you were definitely blessed to catch that at the right time, and props to you for latching onto it too, because musically it was ahead of its time.
Yeah, I agree. I agree wholeheartedly. That was something that I always kind of I felt as a youngster, but I wasn't really able to put into words like that. I was just like back then it's cool to have a Black Wizard of Oz, but I was really just like, man, these songs they hold up till today because the musical scores were just absolutely magnificent. Crazy. Those drummers were killing it. And then the horns, on some of those songs, those horns are almost impossible.
Well, and really, the movie, the play, the score was ahead of its time too, and it led to other things like the god awful Sgt Pepper remix with Peter Frampton and the Bee Gees, right? So you're right about one thing; it holds up.
Yeah, it does. Totally does, man. I have to watch it again tonight, honestly, because now that I'm thinking about it, there's so many different scenes, different songs, different parts of those movies, different notes that where you just hear one single note and you're like, oh, it's on. Like it's that time, It's just it's a cool, yeah, I love it, man. I love it.
I've got the soundtrack too, the vinyl soundtrack. So maybe towards the end of the show, we'll pull that out and look at a couple songs that really inspired you, Myles. I know that we spoke about some of them now, but folks, get the word out. The Whiz, go back and revisit that. It's a classic. If you haven't seen it before, we recommend it. Stamp of approval from Myles the Master and the Sunday Spin. So yeah, digging into some history here. We appreciate that, Myles. But yeah, you talked earlier about your inspiration for like your own music. How did that start? Where did that come from?
Well, it's kind of, I don't know. It kind of came from a bunch of different places. I know that this is mainly for the folks watching, and I don't know, Vinny, you know or not, but Glenn, my grandfather and grandmother were insane jazz musicians for a long time. My grandfather could write and play anything under the sun, and my grandmother could sing it for him. And so they were really, really heavy musical influences. But honestly, what really got me kind of into doing music outside of just school band and things like that was actually the movie 8 Mile. I watched the movie 8 Mile with my friend Marcus, and I was in second grade or something like that, second or third grade. We weren't supposed to be watching the movie, but we found it and we liked listening to Eminem's music. And so we were like, yo, we're gonna watch 8 Mile. So we watched 8 Mile, and from that point on, anybody that I was friends with, we were rap battling each other. Like it was just in us because we just adapted to the culture. We found out rap battling was a thing, basically.
Yeah.
Adapted to the whole culture, the URLs, the Vegas battles, the old school Detroit battles and that type of stuff, all the way up to the YouTubers who were just literally doing it in class. So we just doing that, and I started writing ever since, man, and just kind of took it from there.
Outstanding. Outstanding. And you know, I loved what he said, Graham. I love what Myles said about, you know, 8 Mile being the influence
Yeah.
to him. You know, for us, it was a hard day's night. You know, I mean,
Right.
generations being different, circumstances being different, but the fact is, you got the influence.
Yeah.
And when you get the influence, you get the itch, and
Yeah,
everything comes from that, in my opinion, anyway.
I agree. I feel like ultimately it's just about the music and the way that you can kind of understand the culture that you're in through the music that everybody is listening to. That's at least how I kind of perceived it. That's what I was trying to go for. At least I wanted to be somebody who was like cutting edge, almost like they view you as being cutting edge. They view you as being innovative. I wanted to, like, I always looked up to Da Vinci's and Isaac Newton's and stuff like that. So I wanted to be cutting edge, but I wasn't really super mechanically inclined and stuff like that. I was more musically and poetically inclined. So I just kind of, I was like, I want to take it that direction, kind of learn how to navigate waters through the talents that I have. And I could see other people doing it in a way that was more understandable to me. Because obviously, everybody loves the rock stars, but I never could see myself as a rock star. I could see myself as a dude in a hoodie coming up on that stage killing a mic, though.
We love that. We love that. That's wonderful.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the beautiful thing about it is, you know, you don't have to use the term rock star now, because let's face it, you are a professional, you're a performing artist.
Yeah.
And you know, I love recording artist as opposed to rock star on a personal level. Yeah, the connotation there is miles apart as far as I'm concerned. No pun intended, Myles.
No, you're totally right. No, you're totally right. And that's something that, you know, I feel like comes with age, because early on it's all about the cool factor, you know. It's all about the cool factor almost. But then you kind of get into it, and then it just becomes more of just a love of individuality, a need to express oneself. And that's why, shoot, especially like hanging out with Glenn and stuff like that. I've been to a few of Glenn's shows. Glenn, watching him perform has inspired me quite a bit. I ain't never do instruments and sing at the same time on stage in person before until I went to your show. So I was like, okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That means a lot. And man, your collaborative work, we did, Vinny, a lot of people don't know, Myles did some work with Menagerie on our second album. Yeah, a great tune. Myles just killed vocals, did a wonderful song. I mean, and just a great chorus. Like, we loved working with Myles. It was a true professional. Came in, got down to business. Like, let's get to work. But then we had fun too. We laughed. You know, we talked shit. Like, it's good. It's a really good environment. I always inspired to not know that Myles is just doing things, but that I get the opportunity to work with him sometimes. It's a blessing. And Myles, the music that you're making, my friend, always touches my heart. I feel like you're hitting some different levels now. That's something that Vinny and I are really curious about, because, I mean, you're doing it all, man. You're writing the lyrics, you're doing the music, the production, the vision, all of it. Talk about what that's like for an artist in 2022. Right? I know it's a loaded question.
No,
Potato.
because I appreciate you, man. I truly do appreciate y'all, man. And one thing that I will have to say is I have had to move away from doing a little bit of it, just due to the financial burdens of trying to make music consistent nowadays and have it be at a professional level is just, it's crazy. But no, what I've realized is it's not something that you can choose to do. It's something that you kind of are forced into. Like there's different benefits, I feel like, to being an artist nowadays versus being somebody who may have came up in, say, the 90s or the 80s. There there's obviously easier ways to get your music out. I can send my music around the world by myself. It takes no other outside sources other than a distribution company. It's very easy that way. However, it's such a saturated market that you're competing in every aspect of it. You're competing for not only producers and engineers, but photographers and social media marketers and financial advisors, tax advisors. You got to worry about your LLCs. You got to worry about your distribution. You got to worry about your copyrights. It's just you really got to become a jack of all trades just to even almost survive. It's kind of crazy, man. It gets super frustrating at times. It gets super frustrating at times, and I don't blame blame a lot of people for honestly just deciding to take the easy road and just decide to become kind of SoundCloud auto-tune iPhone artists. And
Yeah.
it saddens me, but it can motivate you once you're dope enough at navigating the waters.
Truly, truly, and that's another art in itself, Miles. Absolutely, and I love what you said about the last 20, 25 years, especially as a recording artist, and it's something G and I can definitely identify with. Has it gotten easier? Yeah, absolutely. It's gotten easier, with technology and everything else. The one thing that always amazes me, Miles, is, and I'm sure this happens to you, Greno, is, people will say, wow, I would love to do what you're doing. And the first thing out of my mouth is, well, then why aren't you?
Yeah.
I mean, really, what is stopping you at this point? I could see in, 30 years ago, somebody asking that question, saying, oh, it's just not feasible. But
Yeah,
my God, if you've got, a microphone and a computer, you can be a recording artist these days.
that's true.
And again, Miles, you're right about the saturation, which is the perfect word for it. But that's also our society today, going back to 3 TV channels and now having, 3,000.
Exactly.
Um, but
It's
the cream always rises, Miles, and that's why you've been a successful recording artist.
Hey, well, I appreciate that. I view success in different ways. My whole goal is at this point, because I was just like the one thing that I do in this world for so long, and I still stand behind that mentality for some people, for a lot of people at beginning stages, to increase motivation and productivity. But what I've come to realize, the more that I've kind of become more in tune with myself as a grown man, is just like, man, I can't limit myself to a box. I can't limit myself to any box, and that goes for everything. If I feel like I want to invent some crazy machine tomorrow, I better start thinking about how I want to make that machine. I should just go in every direction I can. And when I started thinking about like my music in that way as well, my creativity expanded in a magnificent way. So my pop songs are better, my rap songs are better, my country songs are better. It's just all of it's better.
That's awesome. I love that viewpoint. Really.
Really, especially about the evolution, because as an artist, if you don't evolve, you don't exist.
That's
And that's the sad truth. You have to mature, or you're not being true to yourself.
yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, your library of works shows an incredible maturity in a very quick time. But that being said, it's also gotten a lot more introspective.
Yeah.
And that's a difficult thing for a recording artist to do in a lot of cases, is to talk about their life and their experiences. But if you can and you can get it across, it means a lot to a lot of people.
Well, thank you. Thank you for saying that. Thank you for noticing that as well. Because that that's something that I definitely pride myself on, that I try to continue to kind of go forth in. Because one thing I've noticed about just just regular life and just living now in this world that we live in, there's not really any philosophers. There are authors, there are poets, there are musicians, but there aren't too many real philosophers anymore. And that's something that I feel like we have the duty to integrate into all of our society. Since we don't have that designation anymore, there's no people who are like just there to basically be philosophers in our regular society. I feel like it's kind of our job to integrate that kind of mindset, that thoughtful philosophic process into everything that we can put it into, especially creativity.
Wow. What a great response, Myles, and so true. So very true.
Um,
Amazing. Amazing guest. Wow.
well, I appreciate y'all, man. It's cool talking to y'all, man. It's cool talking to other musicians like this in a medium where it's just like just a relaxed kind of conversational vibe. Like, and it's cool. I like it.
Sure. Sure. And Glenn, I love what he said about, how an artist is actually has that responsibility, which is still fairly new, believe it or not, in musical genres. I mean, people were not asking lute players in the 1500s their thoughts on politics, and they weren't asking Frank Sinatra either. It really was Dylan, the Beatles, so forth, who said, the only way we can get a message across is to get it through our music. But at the same time, in getting that message across, they reached a broader, more enlightened audience. And that's what you're doing with your work, Myles. You should be very proud of that.
Man, well,
True.
shoot, I compare myself to those fellas, but I truly that humbles me. I definitely have to take that into account because I never heard that thought before. Like I never thought about that before. I never thought about the responsibility increasing in the way that it has with the need for music becoming what it is. Because like you were saying, the lute players were just playing for the church and the king. It's like the drummers were just playing for the military.
Yeah.
That's wild to think about how far we've come to where now an artist, a musician can literally be somebody's voice for most of what they're thinking sometimes in some cases, because some of these people rely so heavily on these artists that they don't even know that their entire personalities are based off of these artists and what they portray. And so I think that's something that I definitely have to keep in mind, is just the fact that the responsibility, if it's increased this much exponentially, it's going to keep increasing.
Yeah.
It absolutely will. It absolutely will.
I love how Penny brought up the part about starting with Dylan and all that, because you go from that to the crazy punk rockers of the 70s, and then it's really hip hop. Becomes this thing that like people start to fear. What happens is people fear all these music, and when it first comes out, punk was the same thing. On TV, you'd see that, oh, this crazy punk rock music, and then the same thing happened with hip hop. I think it evolved kind of and morphed differently after that, though. Don't you guys think? Like the DJ revolution has changed music so much because these are pure audio files. You got people like Madlib and people like DJ Shadow, and again, those are just a couple of names. These guys know not thousands, hundreds of thousands of records, little snippets, little parts. Like DJ Shadow is an artist that you don't even know where some of this stuff's coming from that he's using. And like, so Myles, what kind of, I know that as a, artists like that are interesting and important to a lot of music, but what has the DJ done for music, do you think?
Oh man, I think
great question, Greno.
That is a question, actually, because thank you for bringing that up, because I feel very strongly about that. Actually, I feel very strongly about that. I think that the DJ is one of the most important musical revolutions that there has ever been or ever will be.
Absolutely.
Like just plain and simple, not even dealing with the technology that they have to deal with, because technology will always be advancing at insane rates. I just think that the role of the DJ is something that's never been done before. It's just something that's so integral to all types of genres of music, but never thought of at the same time. It's like having it for the first time. You're like, oh, why haven't we been doing this the whole freaking time? Oh, we didn't have the technology. But the DJ, what he's done ultimately, in my mind, has taken the duty of the band, taken the the fallibility of the band and replace that with just pure engagement from the audience. So
Yeah.
you can still have the band just doing their thing, but they don't have the pressure that they used to have of having to maintain such a perfect consistency all the time. They can improvise, kind of enjoy a little bit. Maybe they want to play a little out of tune and the DJ can just kind of change the chord progression down a little bit, just kind of even things out. Maybe he wants to drop everything down an entire octave just to match how the guitar player is playing tonight. And it's like, man, that you could never do that before. You had to be so technical with all of your music. And it's like, at the heart of it, I don't think musical is a technical thing. It's not a technical thing. It's a feeling. It's a
Agreed.
vibe.
Yeah. And that's the beauty of art in its many forms, is the less rules it has, the more fun and inspirational it can be. You know, Glenn and I, we're musical rule breakers. We admit it, you know.
Always.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And again, we know you are, Myles, too, because we're fans of the career. It's a beautiful thing that you realize how inspirational recording artists can be. On that note, if you could give one message to the people who listen to you, buy your records, love you, follow you, what would the message be?
Honestly, to those people, I would say thank you beyond, like, you have no idea what y'all have meant to me. Like, thank you, because man, being an artist, I'm sure that you know how it is, but to just make a song can take everything in your pocket, everything in your heart, everything in your body, and more. And then it's like, just to have that song turn into just nothing and just kind of fade away, it's like a piece of you just kind of dies. And so it's like, when you're so used to having those pieces die, and then you realize that some of them aren't quite dead yet. They got heartbeats, and they're inside other people, and it's those people that are keeping them alive because they mean something to them. Man, it's I don't even know. It's awesome. So thank you.
I love the way you describe that, Myles. That's a wonderful. I can relate so much to that in songwriting, where it's, you know, you're inspired. You know, you write something, and you're right. After a certain amount of time, it's like the seasons. Things change, and songs wither away. You know, like leaves into the wind, and new ones come along, and new joys come along. But yeah, to know, you're right, that someone will come along maybe months, years later and say, Myles, I've watched it happen. Myles and I worked together, and I remember a guy coming up saying, hey, this tune, and Myles was like, oh, I hadn't even thought about that track in a while. I forgot. And it was that moment where it was like, it really meant something to someone right in that moment, even though Myles had still kind of moved on creatively and musically. It's a beautiful thing, man, Myles. It's so wonderful to meet with you. This show's a gift. If you guys aren't available to watch this live, go to the Technicolor Dreams site real quick and subscribe up. That way you can check all of our stuff out on YouTube, Sunday Spin, our channel. Hey, you can go back and watch Myles on Stir the Pot.
Yes, you can.
And Mark, our buddy Mark Freeling. We love you, Mark. Yeah, man, we got a whole community, and Myles, it's so blessed that you're a part of it. And I want to say too, dude, that you've made the Groove Yard so much fun on Mondays. We're playing your music on there. People are digging in, and it really mixes it up. You know, a lot of the stuff on Anonymous Collective is indie rock and that weird geek rock and stuff. So to have some music that's different, more open, and just, yeah, the songs that you bring in are just awesome, man. I love it. Thank you.
And if I could add real quick, Reno, because you know I'm a big fan of the Groove Yard. It doesn't stick out as being so different than the other tracks that are being played. So although, yes, it's not your typical nerdy indie rock, as you say, it fits very well with the format.
It does.
And that's a testament to you both, really.
Well, honestly, I just appreciate y'all listening to the songs, man, like jamming them out, excuse me, and I know that it's normally indie rock and stuff on stuff like that on your channel, which you was calling kind of that geeky rock, but I love that type of music too. So if y'all ever type of into that type of stuff and you want me to send you some more of that type of stuff, I can figure something out. But yeah, no, I appreciate the opportunity having me on there. I appreciate y'all listening. I appreciate y'all having me on here, man. Just the interaction. It's truly y'all love from this side. I know I got Bob up there in the in the little picture above me. So it's all
Yes.
love, man.
And let's take a moment to spread the word too. So I got a link on the bottom there for on the ticker for folks. Some links to your music, Myles. We got the Spotify, Apple Tunes, all the goodies for the folks. So go and seek it out and listen and discover and purchase and just enjoy the wonderful world that Myles has going on with his music. Looking forward to doing some more collaborative stuff, Myles. I know we're both busy, but we'll make it happen this summer. We'll eke out another tune here. And we always want to give you a chance to do any special shout outs. And but before we go, I want to just remind me at the end to talk a little bit more about your grandparents, because it's not just significant from a historical perspective, but also from geographical. Because a lot of people here in Colorado Springs, you know, it's a legendary musical spot. People have no idea some of the jazz clubs and things that were going on here, and some of the opportunities that, you know, were available to a lot of folks that, you know, at the time weren't available in other arts. So we'll take a moment to talk about that. But yeah, Myles, we want to give you the stage and pick up that mic. And if there's any love or shout outs that you'd like to do right now, it'd be a wonderful opportunity, my friend.
Shout outs. Shoot. Shout out first of all to you guys. Shout out to Vinny and Greno.
Thank you.
So y'all are awesome. The show is awesome, and the radio station has been killing it too. So Greno, keep the grooves going in the groove yard. This shit is dope.
Thanks, Myles. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. And then I definitely I don't know if you're watching because he's probably with the fam right now, but I gotta give a shout out to my brother Sirius. His name's Sirius Black, another musician from Colorado Springs. Really, really dope dude. Definitely rides with me through thick and thin as far as any of this music stuff is concerned. Just did a show with him on 420 up in Denver. He's a real cool cat. So shout out to that dude. Go check his music out. And then obviously my blood brother Dozo is my little brother, and his music is amazing too. All their stuff is available on my page as well, a collaboration. So just go listen to them as well. They're awesome cats. And shoot, I hope y'all have a wonderful day. Everybody that I didn't shout out, I'm sorry.
Oh, Myles,
that was very thorough and very well done, Myles.
I appreciate you.
So yeah, just before we go, I was so thrilled to know that, you know, I love music history, and so does Vinny. And I was so thrilled to know, and Myles, you were very humble when we originally talked about it, but I kept picking your brain about it and wanted to know more and stuff. But yeah, just talk a little bit more about your grandparents. And we're here in Colorado Springs. Vinny's out in Cali, and Myles and I are here in the Springs. So yeah, just talk a little bit about that journey. Again, there were clubs open, there were Black-owned jazz clubs at the time. Much different atmosphere for musicians and stuff. And talk about the brilliance of and inspiration of your grandparents a little bit more, if you don't mind.
Got you. So yeah, my grandparents were Pete Cardozo and Alice Cardozo. They were amazing jazz musicians. They played all over the place. Played a lot of times in Colorado Springs. They were actually some of the more integral pieces in the Colorado music scene for a very long time. Downtown area, actually Colorado Springs, one thing like you were saying about it, one unique area about Colorado Springs was when it was kind of first being kind of created, it was kind of a little bit of a racial place, just like the rest of the West, you know. It was not the greatest spot, but
right.
towards that kind of founding of like the Air Force and the Army bases and everything like that, there was a decent shift in the kind of downtown area. There was a lot of people of color, a lot of Hispanic, a lot of black folks in the town. And so they were basically just as a town just kind of decided not to have just the crappy racism be the complete norm. And not it was gone. They're not gonna. It's still 19 freaking 40 and 50, whatever. So it's still gonna be pretty racist. But there were still some really cool little spots that opened up that were all integrated. Some jazz halls, some very very cool looking sounding jazz halls, some cool little diners and things like that that were all just always kind of doing like music tips, hotels. And one of the more famous ones was actually downtown, down by the Antlers Hotel. And that was actually where most of the jazz musicians who were famous would actually end up going down there and playing either there or at the Antlers. And so my grandfather, obviously playing with everybody that there was for freaking 30 something years, he ended up playing at the Antlers, and he had, I don't know what you would call it, like a residency. I'm not familiar with the contract or whatever, but he didn't live there, but he just had a staying gig there just constantly for years and years and years and years. I remember basically every year that I would grow up, that I actually knew my grandfather, he was doing gigs at the Antlers and places downtown and going around. But I only knew him after he was like 60. So, you know, he had a full long jazz life before me.
Well, it's amazing too, because you don't associate Colorado Springs with a jazz boom. You know, you hear all the time in history about Chicago, St. Louis, New Orleans. Colorado Springs, what an interesting, delightful turning back of the clock.
And well, the only Colorado Springs was ever even like that was just really mainly due to the fact that you have the military, and Denver being the main city for all of the Midwest at that point, that was south of Illinois, because it's like in Chicago at that point in the Midwest, unless you're on the east side going towards like St. Louis and everything like that, it's just smaller cities. You got like the Omahas and the places like that. You come out to Denver, and you're like, oh wow, this is the first large city with a massive amount of people that are needing something to do, and most of them live 60 minutes south in Colorado Springs because they're military. We got to have some sort of bar, some sort of club or something like that, because folks out here just be drinking and either listening to music or doing something.
Oh, think about how proud your grandparents must be to see you, you know, following in their footsteps, because that is exactly what you're doing, Myles.
Yeah.
You know, genres not accepted. You're a performing artist.
That's true.
And I'm sure they're, you know, I'm sure they're very proud of you, brother, because we are.
Thank you very much for that. I appreciate that. Thank you very much for that.
It runs in the family too with Myles. I know Myles' dad does stand-up comedy. His little brother, which shout out to little brother, miss you, man, does music as well, Dozo. So yeah, like a wonderful family that does so much for the community. And my main thing too with Myles and his family is there's so much positivity. You know, that's the main message, and love and acceptance. And that's what the world needs more of, is they need more of that. So Myles, thanks for bringing that into creation with, you know, to be one with the universe. We appreciate it so much. And it's been a wonderful treat, man, to have you on. Thanks for staying on a little bit longer and sharing those wonderful stories with us, man. Like, good stuff.
Thank you guys for having me, man. Like, seriously, it's been a really good time. Always good talking to you guys. And seriously, much love, man. Much love. It's all love from this side. You guys are seriously appreciated.
And before we let you go, Myles, you know that when I make my annual pilgrimage to the 719, that we are going to have to get together and lay something down. I mean, there's no question that we want you part of our community as well. because you're a shining example and the positivity glows. And that is what we're all about. And that's the thing I'm proudest of. So yeah.
I hope that you're doing live stuff too, Myles. Keep us informed on that. We'll I definitely, man, when I saw those pictures, I was like, oh geez, I want to see Myles perform. I've never seen him perform live. It's like freestyle right in front of me. I get the good inside stuff, but you know, and then working with him in the studio and whatnot. But yeah, it's what a treat, man. That must have been so exciting. And keep us informed, my friend.
I got you, man. I got you. Yeah, it's not something you get to do that often, especially
I feel it.
Everything like that after that hit, and you know, being an independent artist in Colorado, you don't get to do shows too often. But yeah, I'm gonna keep y'all posted. Thank you.
Please do. Yeah, I know you're always welcome back.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. Yep. Well, stay blessed, Myles. Again, thank you so much. Want to thank everyone for tuning into the Sunday Spin every week, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern. Next week, very special Mother's Day edition with my friend Jesse Wickman. Jesse's the drummer of the band Nuisance. We've already had the wonderful bass player Kyle Henner on last month, so we're continuing with the Nuisance phase. Legends of not the 64, it would be the 707. But friends of mine, and then his mom's going to be on too. So let's give a quick shout out to moms. My mom's birthday is Cinco de Mayo. So Mom, I love you. That's coming up. And also I want to give a quick shout out to my grandson, Myles. Or no, Milo. Very close. That'd be great. I might have a grandson named Myles one day. Milo, is his birthday tomorrow. And he's going to turning the big one. So we're excited to celebrate, turn into the Groove Yard tomorrow, 6 o'clock. You're going to hear a bunch of party music. It's going to be a lot of fun. Thank you guys so much. Vinny, what do you got for me, my wonderful cohort?
Well, real quick, you know I'm always gonna mention the Groove Yard, my favorite show. But how about a shout to our brother Rob Brewer, who made his triumphant return this last weekend.
Right.
You know, Rob's too humble to talk about it, but check out his Facebook, check out the social media. You know.
Yeah, I jumped on stage with his old band Unwritten Law after probably about 17, 18 years. We call him Ears, but yeah, Rob, we love you. Yeah, what an exciting moment to see.
Yeah, how beautiful, right?
And Wade too, the original drummer too. So
all legends of the 64. Yeah,
it is. Thanks for mentioning that, Vinny. And you guys, thanks so much for tuning in. It's been nothing but a pleasure to hang out with my friend Myles. Check out his music, wonderful platforms. He's doing a lot of good stuff out there. And also follow him on Instagram as well. All right. Love you guys. Next week on The Spin. Happy Mother's Day to everybody. And I want to know your picks for the Kentucky Derby too, everybody. All right. Talk to you soon. Peace out.